the data. The reports provide the data, and it will also, the reports will provide the actual data. Now, as we have taken the example of the organizations where this report will give the management the actual data, how many are working, how many are just coming and going, what is the attendance percentage, and who is working very hard for the organization, who is coming on time to the organization. So which will give the management or the higher authorities a clear picture of what is going on in the organization. So reports will provide the actual data, and also it helps in analysis on the basis of which planning and decision making will be done. So data is provided, and through this data, as I told you, analysis can be done. Analysis of the employees, or as well as the data which is there with them, which will give a view, or which will help the higher authorities, or which will help the organization in the next planning process, that in the next state or in the next level, how they have to move forward, what better decisions they can take, how can they go on with their decision making. So which will help the organization in a better understanding. So we can say that the parameters like analysis, collection of the data, then through these two going for a planning process, then which will also help in the decision making, and all these processes will also help the organization to understand the employees and better, and it will the organization also will get a clear picture of what better decisions which can be taken by them to work with the employees, or to make the employees work with them in a positive manner. That we can say the purpose and function of the reports. Then we will move on to the classification of reports. Now, what do you understand by the term classification of the reports? The classification of reports can be divided into some subheadings, or that is, the first one is direction. Classification of reports is direct. First one is direction. Now, direction can be upwards and downwards also. Now, what do we mean by upwards? Upwards is from subordinates to superordinates, from lower level to higher level, when that is the information. From lower to upper, when the information is shared, when the report moves from down to up, that is known as then downwards, that is when there are the subordinates, when their subordinates interact, and from the higher authorities when the information flows down to the subordinates. So upwards is upward movement from down to up, and downwards is from top to bottom. When the information is shared from these two methods, the direction of information or the direction of the report, we see in many cases in the organizations that the clerks or the people who are at the lower level will create the report and submit it to the higher authorities. So the groundwork is done by the last grade 3 and 4 employees, and which will be submitted to the higher authorities who are in the higher positions. And orders are given by the superiors to their subordinates. So downwards, orders are being given downwards, that is from the top to bottom, Upwards is when the information, when the report is prepared, it will go on from downwards to upwards, from the subordinates to the superordinates. That is first one, direction. Then we have second one, legalities. Legalities is preparing the reports based on the information or based on the rules and regulations or guidelines which are necessary. The report cannot be prepared. Now, for example, we can take the Controller and Auditor General. Now, his work is to audit, to scrutinize the information, to scrutinize the audit of the finances of the government, that is the expenditures and the revenue which are being done by the government. So now when they start scrutinizing or when they start analyzing, they have to follow some rules and regulations and they have to be in the purview of the law. So the report preparing or the office reports have to be prepared in their basing on their legalities. So they have to be, so we can say that in the direction is one method classification, then the legalities, then the third one is functions. Functions are the accounts, stores, that is reports are based on their the store function. That is, now stores maintain one type of report, that is the maintain the inventory, that what is the stock with them. Then accounts department will maintain another type of report, that is what is the revenue and expenditure of that month or a day, that is an accounts. So functions are stores, accounts, where they maintain the reports based on their work and department. Then the next classification is regularity. Maintaining the record as per the schedule from time to time, then it is called as a regularity. In regular intervals, regular, that is date-wise, month-wise, year-wise, then whenever there is a need for any right information, then the organization can access that in an easy manner. Then the last one is confidentiality. Each department has to maintain the confidentiality. Confidentiality is not sharing the information with the opposite people. Now, for example, we see in our country, the defense, all the defense, that is army, navy, or the external affairs, all these ministries, they are the confidential ministries where no people, no common citizen is involved in them, and they don't share information. They don't share information. They don't share information with the opposite person. So it is very, very important for us to understand. It is very, very important for us to understand the concept. So we can understand this in a better manner also. Now we will move on to the reports preparation process. Reports preparation process. That is, in this reports preparation process, we have first one is collection of data, analysis of data, discussion, presentation. Now, analysis, collection of data, as I told you, data collection, the gathering of information, gathering of the rightful information, that is collection of data. Then analysis of the data. Analysis of the data, what all the information which is being gathered by the organization, they have to analyze it. In which way, in what way they have to keep, in what manner they have to keep it. That is an analysis of the data. After that, they have to have a thorough discussion, how it has to be presented, or what has to be included, what has to be excluded, where it has to be done. All this has to be, that is a discussion. Then we have presentation. Presentation is the final result, what has to be placed and which will go into the record. That is the presentation. That is a presentation is the final one which is being submitted to the superordinates or which is submitted to the higher authorities, which will have a final word of what is the data acquired, what it is, what has been presented, what is being analyzed, everything will be maintained in that. That is the reports preparation process. So we can say that in the preparation process, there can be the analysis of the data can be done in a systematical order. The first and foremost one, collection of the data, is the very, very crucial one, we can say. Why? Because collecting of the rightful information and not missing out any rightful information, contacting the people, addressing the people's problems, and we are gathering the information. So the collection of the data is the first step involved in this preparation process, and it needs a huge time, I can say, or it is a huge task for the organization also. So that is then when the information is gathered, we can say that the information gathered might be a surplus one, or it might be a deficit one, or it might be a random one, or which might not give a proper information also. So after this collection of the data, the analysis of the data has to be done. Analysis that which has to be kept, what has to be kept, which has to be shown later on, or which has to be given out to the others, or which has to be kept in a confidential manner, which has to be given to whom, what has to be shared, what has not to be shared. All this has to be taken into consideration. So analysis of the data. Then discussion. Discussion is when the data is analyzed, then there will be a thorough discussion. That is interaction of words, interaction of understanding of the concept, understanding the things, analyzing the data, the confidentiality of the data, how to maintain, what are the parameters to be addressed. All this has to be taken, it will be addressed in the discussion part. Then the last one is presentation. As I told you, presentation is the last one. That is a final one, which will give actual picture what has to be done and how it has to be done and how it can be presented. Or if the organization has done anything, any goods or any manufacturing of goods space, then the final report will give how much raw material was bought, how many goods were manufactured, how much money was involved in, utilized, how many employees were utilized, and when the product has come out, what was the marketing strategy, then what was and how much these goods were sold. So at the end, they will get a report of all these things, right from the purchase of the raw material to the goods going into the market and getting the result of the market. That is, so we can say that the report, the presentations, right from the collection of the data to the presentation, everything plays a very, very important role in the result preparation process. Now, next we will move on to the main features of an effective report. What are the main features of an effective report? The first one is accuracy. That is, as I told you, collection of the data is one thing, but accuracy, actual thing, what is needed, what has to be kept, what is the rightful information which they have to. That all has to be kept in mind. Then second one is presentable appearance. We cannot just randomly put everything in one book and we cannot just throw on the other person's face. It has to be in a presentable manner. It has to be in a presentable manner. Presentable manner means it has to have contents. It has to have the rightful information in a particular format, how the opposite person is asking for. Then it will have the font, the paper, what all is needed that have to be, which will show the work of that organization. So presentable appearance is very much important. Then we have timelessness, that is the time is also very, very important. The time, how, what is the actual thing, what has to be done, how it has to be done, all has to be kept in mind. Then we have relevance. Relevance means what is actually taking place, or relevance is what is related. The organization cannot show what all they have. If a person or if a client comes to the organization and if he asks the organization to give him the information of 2020, then if the organization has to show him only the report of 2020, it need not give him the 2019 report, 2018 report, or 2022 report. So each which will give a wrong information or a wrong perception to the client. Then the client will say that the organization is not up to the mark. It does not give you it does not provide the rightful information. It will not give the rightful information whichever is necessary. So it will give a wrong impact on the organization and it might lead to the lapses in the administrative process, and the organization might lead the system, or might lead the organizations, or they might lead the organizational goals also. So we can say that this is a better understanding to gain and the importance of the report, or to maintain the report. So this all plays a very, very important role. That is right from the communication, the records management, and the preparation of the report and presentation of the report. So we can say that these all help the organization in attainment of the organizational goals. So this is all about the report, office reports. So once again, I'll be telling in today's class, we have discussed block 4. Block 4, in the block 4, we have discussed about unit A, unit 7, office communication and correspondence, unit 8, records management, and unit 9, office reports. So once again, I'll just brush up. Office communication. In unit 7, we discussed about office communication. In office communication, we have discussed what is communication, the interaction of words or the exchange of words. Then we have discussed the concepts, that is the communication process and the barriers of communication. Then we moved on to records management. In that we discussed about what is a record and what is the records management. Then we discussed about the principles of the records management. Then we discussed about the reports, the office reports. We discussed about actually what is a report. Then we discussed about office reports, what are the classifications, the purpose and functions of the office reports. Then we discussed about the classification of reports. Then we discussed about the main features of an effective report. So this is all in today's class. If you have any doubts, you can come up. Okay. Thank you.